My sister died thinking she wasn't smart enough. Then I found the Ivy League letters she never saw. She built a company from nothing while believing she'd been rejected by Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. Hi, I'm Jake, 32, and last month my life blew up when I found an unopened envelope from Harvard in my late sister's childhood desk drawer. I was cleaning out my parents' house after they passed, just me and my little niece Lila, 7 years old and obsessed with bubble wrap. It was quiet, dusty, and emotional in that weird, slow-motion way. My sister Vivian had died 2 years earlier, cancer, and we hadn't really gone through her things yet. I saved her room for last. Felt right. I opened the drawer and there it was. A thick, crisp envelope from Harvard Admissions, dated 2008. Still sealed. At first I thought it was one of those fake, early application brochures they send to top students, until I saw the words. "We are pleased to inform you." Peeking through the translucent paper. My stomach dropped. I sat down hard on the floor. Lila wandered in with bubble wrap taped to her socks. "Why do you look like you saw a ghost?" she asked. "I think I did." The next few hours were a blur. I opened the envelope. It was real. Vivian had gotten into Harvard. Full financial aid. A personal note from the admissions officer about her. Extraordinary essays, and unwavering intellectual curiosity. I couldn't breathe. But here's the thing, Vivian never went to Harvard. She went to community college. Transferred to a state university. Graduated while working full-time. She built a data firm from nothing. But she always said Ivy League was never in the cards. Except, she got in. So why didn't she go? I found more. A file folder with other letters, Yale. Princeton. Same story. Full rides. Same year. All of them declined. All of them signed, not in her handwriting. I checked again. They were signed by my father. Now, this might be the part where you expect me to say, I couldn't believe it. But the truth is, I could. My father believed sons were born to lead and daughters to support. I was the favorite. Vivian? She was expected to marry well. And suddenly, my childhood memories warped like melting glass. Her tears when she got rejected. My father saying she wasn't Ivy League material. Her quietly hustling through school while I got private SAT tutors and resume consultants. Vivian never once told me she got in. Not once. And now she never would. The next morning, I woke up on the living room couch with every acceptance letter spread across the coffee table like crime scene evidence. Because that's what it felt like. A crime. Vivian had been robbed of the truth. Of options. Of the validation she'd earned. And the people who stole it? Our parents. My parents. The same ones whose fridge had my honor roll certificate stuck up with magnets, and who acted like Vivian's B+ in calculus was a personal insult. My wife, Naomi, sat beside me quietly, reading the Yale letter. She never said anything? She whispered. Not once. Naomi didn't say, I'm sorry. She said, What are you going to do? The answer came quicker than I expected. Tell Lila. Because Lila, my sister's daughter, was already being told little things like, Girls don't need to worry about math. By her grandparents before they passed. Little seeds. Subtle poison. I wasn't going to let that take root. But first, I had to find out how deep this went. I spent a week combing through everything, old emails, FAFSA forms, tax filings. That's when I found the forged decline letters, literal copies addressed to each Ivy League school. All digitally signed, Vivian Chen, in the same clumsy scrawl my father used on birthday cards. I couldn't ask Vivian. I couldn't ask my parents. But I could ask Mrs. Patterson. Her name popped into my head like lightning. Our high school college counselor. Legendary. The kind of woman who laminated everything and cried reading application essays. I found her email. She wrote back in 2 hours. Jake. I remember Vivian very well. She was one of the most impressive students I ever worked with. Her essay on growing up as the daughter of immigrants made me weep at my desk. Of course she got into Harvard. Wait, are you telling me she didn't go? We met for coffee. She was grayer than I remembered but still had the same gold-rimmed glasses and hurricane energy. She'd kept copies. Every school Vivian applied to. Every acceptance. Every note. And the day my father walked into her office with a folder and said, Vivian has decided to decline all offers and stay close to home. He said she didn't want the pressure. Mrs. Patterson told me, eyes misty. That she'd chosen family over ambition. I stared at her. She was 17, I said. She didn't choose. She was never even told. 3 weeks after finding the letters, I stood in front of a packed auditorium at the National Women in Data Science Summit, holding a black binder labeled, Vivian Chen, Class of 2012, What Should Have Been. I wasn't supposed to be the speaker. That honor was meant for my sister. But when I sent the summit committee a copy of her old application essay and explained what happened, how she'd been accepted to 3 Ivy League schools and her own parents had intercepted and declined them without her knowledge, they asked if I'd share her story. So I did. I told them about the envelope. About the forged signatures. About the girl who built a $12 million data consulting firm without the degree she'd earned access to, while still thinking she'd failed to impress. The room went dead silent. No coughs, no chair shuffles. Just eyes locked on me like the whole crowd was collectively holding its breath. I used to think my sister was just incredibly determined, I said, my voice catching. But now I know she was determined despite believing she wasn't good enough. And that was engineered. By people who should have believed in her first. When I finished, the applause didn't stop. People stood. Some were crying. And backstage, one of the event organizers handed me a sleek red envelope with gold lettering. We reached out to Harvard, she said quietly. They verified her original acceptance. And they asked if we'd deliver this to her family. I opened it. Inside was a formal letter of honorary recognition. To the family of Vivian Chen. In recognition of extraordinary achievement, resilience, and contributions to the field of data science, we acknowledge Vivian as an honorary member of the Harvard College class of 2012. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't a do-over. It wouldn't bring her back. But it meant something. I brought the letter home to Lila. She was sitting at the kitchen table, writing her own essay for a summer STEM program. I knelt beside her and handed her the letter. What's this? Proof, I said. That your mom was everything she believed she wasn't allowed to be. She looked at the paper. Then up at me. Am I allowed to be everything too? I choked on the answer. But I nodded. Absolutely. And no one gets to decide otherwise. Not even family. 2 months later, I was standing in the same dining room where my parents used to lecture Vivian about realistic expectations and knowing her place. Only now, it was full of lawyers. Because I was suing their estate. It wasn't about money. Vivian never would have wanted that. It was about setting the record straight, legally and permanently. See, after my parents died, there were left everything to the advancement of Kevin's educational pursuits. Kevin, my cousin, not her son, not my sibling. Just the male heir they pinned their hopes on after I left for college out of state, and Vivian settled for community college. But here's the thing. The estate used Vivian's inheritance, her college fund, originally created by our grandparents, to bankroll Kevin's undergrad. Which meant that technically, part of her own sabotaged future had been siphoned off to finance another boy's dreams. When I presented the forged decline letters to the estate attorney, she paled so fast I thought she was about to pass out. This is fraud, she whispered, turning page after page. Your parents forged her name to decline full-ride Ivy acceptances? And then rerouted her educational fund to another family member? I nodded. Vivian was 17. She had no idea. And because she trusted them, she spent the next 15 years believing she wasn't smart enough. While Kevin got private school, travel abroad, internships, paid for by money meant for her. Kevin showed up to the hearing in a navy blazer and guilt behind his eyes. He tried to pull me aside. Jake, I didn't know. I swear. I didn't raise my voice. You were 17 too, Kev. Same age as her. But you never once asked why she wasn't applying to the same schools. You never asked why she seemed to disappear from the family spotlight. You just took what they gave you and ran with it. He looked down. You're right. The judge ruled in our favor. Vivian's portion of the inheritance was posthumously returned, reclassified as wrongfully diverted educational funds. It was placed in a trust for Lila's future. Afterward, Naomi and I took Lila to a bookstore. I told her she could pick out any 10 books she wanted. She picked 17. As we left, she said, Uncle Jake? Yeah? I want to go to Harvard one day. I smiled. Then that's where you'll go. She paused. Do you think Grandma and Grandpa would be mad if I did? I crouched beside her and said, Sweetheart, they don't get to be part of your dreams. Not anymore. The email came at 2:14 a.m. And almost went to spam. Subject line: Vivian Chen's essay changed my life, thank you. It was from a woman named Eliza Ford, now a senior editor at The Atlantic. Apparently, Vivian's original college essay, the one that made Mrs. Patterson cry, had been included in a feature I'd allowed the Harvard Women's Conference to publish after my speech. Eliza had read it. And she remembered it. Because she'd been on the Harvard Admissions Committee in 2008. She was the one who wrote that personal note on Vivian's acceptance letter. The email said, "I've read tens of thousands of application essays in my career. I don't remember most of them. But I remember hers. I remember her story about waiting in line with her mother at the DMV translating forms, and about teaching herself algebra because her school didn't offer a class past geometry. I remember thinking, if this girl gets the chance she deserves, she's going to change everything. I never imagined that the chance was stolen. But now I know. And I'm sorry." I sat there staring at the screen with my hands frozen over the keyboard. Eliza offered to help publish the full story, Vivian's original essay, the timeline of what happened, the evidence of the forgery, and most importantly, what Vivian accomplished anyway. "I can't undo what your family did," she wrote, "but I can help make sure her legacy is never erased again." I said yes. The piece went viral within 48 hours. It was titled, "She Was Accepted to Harvard. Her Parents Said No." She never found out. Over 3 million views. Thousands of comments. Women, daughters, immigrants, first-gen students, people poured out their own stories in the thread. Of being told they weren't enough. Of watching their brothers get more. Of doubting themselves for decades because of quiet betrayals that were never documented. Until now. And in the middle of the flood of stories, one stood out. A comment from a verified user, Mrs. Patterson 123. "Vivian Chen was the most brilliant student I ever worked with. What was stolen from her can never be fully returned. But what she built in its place was extraordinary. And now the world knows it." I called Naomi. She was already crying. Lila found out the next morning when she saw her mother's name trending on her iPad. She ran into our room, wide-eyed, breathless. "Uncle Jake, Mommy's on the news." I pulled her into my arms and said, "That's because your mommy was a genius. And now everyone else knows it, too. It started showing up in job interviews. Vivian's name. I got a message from an old colleague at Microsoft. 'Hey Jake, one of our candidates mentioned your sister during her final round presentation. Cited her as an influence. Said she read that viral article, and it changed how she saw her own potential.' Then it was the keynote at a fintech summit." A panelist referenced the Vivian Chen principle: building in spite of sabotage, thriving without validation, creating success without permission. I was stunned. My sister, who used to sit at the kitchen table crying quietly into her FAFSA forms while our dad told her Kevin needed the computer, had become a blueprint for defiant brilliance. Lila was taking it in, too. She'd taped the Harvard honorary letter above her desk and asked me to quiz her on SAT words during breakfast. She corrected me once on inchoate and said, "Mom would have known that one instantly." Probably true. She started a blog, Letters My Mom Never Got, where she posted old writings, photos, even scanned pages of Vivian's journals. Some entries were hilarious. Others were like gut punches. "Today Dad said not to waste time dreaming. So I'm dreaming in secret. Kevin got a cake for his SAT scores. I got a silence so loud it cracked. If I ever succeed, it'll be a miracle. Or maybe spite. Or both." Her voice was so raw, so intelligent, so painfully hopeful. Readers from all over the world subscribed. Lila started getting emails from girls her age, 14, 15, 16, saying things like, "Your mom makes me believe I can do this." The site caught the attention of a documentary filmmaker. He wanted to tell the whole story. I hesitated at first. It felt like exposing something sacred. But when he said the title he had in mind, The Declined Daughter, I felt a chill. Because that's what she was. A daughter declined. Not by Harvard. But by her family. We said yes. Filming started that fall. Interviews, dramatizations, even old VHS clips of Vivian as a kid, building Lego towers while Kevin knocked them down. The story wasn't sanitized. It wasn't sweetened. It was honest. It ended with Lila, standing on the steps of Harvard Yard, holding a photo of her mom. She looked directly into the camera and said, "My mom didn't get to stand here. But I will." And she'll be with me when I do. And I swear to God, I heard Vivian's voice in that moment. Dreaming in secret. But not anymore. The day the documentary premiered, Lila wore her mom's old leather jacket and a gold locket shaped like a tiny book. She walked the red carpet with more composure than I've ever managed in a suit. Naomi and I stood behind her, proud and teary, and when the first reporters asked questions, she didn't flinch. What do you hope people learn from your mom's story? Lila looked directly into the camera. That no one gets to erase your potential. Not even the people who raised you. When the lights dimmed and the declined daughter began, I gripped the armrest. It was beautiful. Brutal. Quiet in the right moments, loud when it needed to be. Vivian's journals were read aloud by an actress who sounded eerily like her, and I could hear quiet sobs throughout the theater when her senior year essay came on screen, paired with footage of Harvard's campus. I want to believe there's a place for girls like me. First gen, second choice, always a step behind but sprinting anyway. The final scene was a home video I hadn't seen in years. Vivian at 8 years old, sitting cross-legged on her bed, a Harvard sweatshirt way too big for her draped over her shoulders. Say it again. My mom's voice said from off-camera, exasperated. Vivian grinned, looked straight into the lens, and said, I'm gonna go to Harvard and make robots and run a company and maybe even buy you a house, okay? The camera shook slightly as if someone laughed, but my father's voice cut in. Don't say stupid things. Vivian's smile didn't budge. It's not stupid. It's my plan. The screen went black. The credits rolled in silence. Standing ovation. Naomi wept into my shoulder. I couldn't move. Just kept thinking about that little girl in the oversized sweatshirt, dreaming out loud in a house that would never let her dream. She never got Harvard. She never got the family celebration, the framed diploma, the summers abroad, or the email address that opened elite doors. But she built a company. She raised a daughter who's going to change the world. And now, finally, the world knows her name. A week later, I got a package in the mail. It was from Harvard. Inside was a plaque. Vivian Chin, honorary alumna. Class of 2012. Denied nothing. Deferred by no one. Defined only by her own merit. I hung it next to the original acceptance letter, both framed in Lila's room above her desk. She noticed it when she came home from school. Looks good, she said. But it's missing one thing. What? She took a sticky note, wrote something quickly, and stuck it underneath both frames. It said, and now it's my turn. And I believed her. With everything I had, I believed her. The declined daughter became the girl who raised the next generation, and this time, no one would be forging her future. Update. It's been 3 years since the declined daughter premiered. Since Vivian's story went global. Since her name, my sister's name, became a movement. And still, every single week, I get an email from someone saying, I read about Vivian. I saw the documentary. I saw myself. But this update isn't about what the world sees. It's about what happened after the applause ended. When the spotlight faded. When the story didn't feel like a story anymore, just the life we were still living. Because the truth is, I never stopped missing her. Not once. Let me start with Lila. She's 16 now. Same sharp eyes, same stubborn streak as her mom. Last month, she got her SAT scores back, a perfect score. She didn't scream. Didn't even smile. Just walked into the living room, dropped the score report in my lap, and said, Well, I guess Mom would have baked a cake or something. You got any flour? We did. We baked one. Lila did the math in her head to convert the recipe to a double batch, then decided to add lemon zest and lavender from Naomi's garden. For a top note. She's scary smart. Scary focused. She's also healing. After the documentary came out, the foundation we started, the Vivian Initiative, began offering scholarships to girls whose educational paths were sabotaged by family or systemic bias. In the first year, we got 58 applicants. This year? Over 3,000. Lila helps read the applications. At first, I worried it would be too much. Too close. But she surprised me. She said, Reading these is the only time I don't feel alone. She's working on her own essay now. Not for a scholarship, for Harvard. She's applying early decision. Already got a pre-read from an admissions officer who recognized her name and said, Your mother was the kind of story we never forget. When Lila heard that, she said, Good. Because I'm the sequel. As for me? I left my job last year. Sold my share of the analytics firm I co-founded, and became full-time director of the Vivian Initiative. I travel now, speak at schools, conferences, sometimes with Lila, sometimes alone. But the most impactful event this year wasn't in front of a crowd. It was a private meeting. I was invited to speak at a leadership retreat for a group of school administrators and education policy architects, people with the power to change things at a systemic level. The kind of people who decide how many counselors a school can afford. Who gets early access to prep materials. Who counts as college ready. I told them about Vivian's fake rejections. And I asked a question I hadn't dared ask in public before. What systems are in place to make sure another Vivian doesn't happen again? What flags a forged document? What happens when a parent says a girl turned down Harvard, but no one hears from the girl herself? No one answered. Until a woman from Chicago spoke up. We have nothing, she said. Not really. We verify intent to enroll, but not declines. We assume if it comes from a parent, it's fine. Another administrator added quietly. We track where students go, not where they were blocked from going. So we drafted a new model. Consent verification for post-acceptance decisions. It's already been piloted in 5 states. Schools now ask students to verify declines directly, not just parents. There's an option to anonymously report potential coercion. There are alerts when an admission is declined by someone other than the student. It's not perfect, but it's a start. We named the policy protocol VC 2012. Vivian Chen, class of 2012. And then there's the house. My parents' house. The one where the letters were hidden. The house where Vivian's dreams went to die behind carefully shut drawers and dismissive dinners. We didn't sell it. For a long time, I didn't know why. Some emotional hang-up, maybe. But then Lila said something one afternoon while we drove past it. She said, "You know, maybe it could be something else." So it is. The Vivian Chen Learning Center opened 6 months ago. It's a community hub for girls in underfunded school districts to study, build, mentor, code, dream. Vivian's childhood bedroom is now the scholarship library. Her old desk is preserved, but surrounded by new ones. Her journals sit behind glass, next to her framed acceptance letters. Above the door hangs a quote from her essay. If I ever succeed, it'll be a miracle. Or maybe spite. Or both. The grand opening? Packed. Lila gave the keynote speech. She said, "This house used to be a graveyard for dreams. Now it's a greenhouse." People cried. I cried. There's more. So much more. Naomi and I adopted a second child, a girl named June. She's 5. Wild. Loud. Already trying to write her own comic book. Lila reads to her every night and tells her stories about Mommy Vivian, like she's a superhero. Because to June, she is. We got word that the declined daughter will be taught in 10 college ethics courses next year. And a school district in New Jersey renamed its new high school wing the Vivian Chen Center for Educational Integrity. I don't know what Vivian would have made of all this. She hated attention. She never wanted to be famous. She just wanted to matter. And now she does. Sometimes, late at night, I still open that first letter. The Harvard one. The one with the words, "We are pleased to inform you." I don't read it to punish myself anymore. I read it because it feels like hearing her voice again. And now, thanks to everything we've built, thousands of girls will get to hear something Vivian never did. You were accepted. You are enough. You were always enough. And no one, not even your own family, gets to erase that truth.